First, let's handle the grunt work. I hate that I had to do this, but I have no faith in the people having patience or reasoning. Cecile is not a lost cause. In fact, her last act in the series leads me to believe that her character will trend upwards. However, that does not change the fact that Cecile was very mediocre, if you can even say that, throughout season 2. Even if you disagree with my overall point, hopefully you'll at least try to hear me out. With that out of the way, let us begin. Cecile was a character I took notice of since her introduction. She was the head of Wellston Weekly, she looked the part of High Tier, and she checked the shit out of Remy, the queen. Early on, you felt Cecile establish her presence in the series, which built up my intrigue with her. In the world of unOrdinary and one of the strongest schools in the district, Cecile's role is huge. I understand it might not seem like much if you're applying real world standards onto unOrdinary. In my experience at least, high school news wasn't anything to pay attention to. But Cecile's position gives her major influence. We've seen in the series that the news is taken so seriously, an article that marked Sarah as a cripple gave students enough confidence to try her, and that was just leaked information, not even in official papers. So Cecile had lost and got back the ability to control information, which was one of the reasons I took an interest to her. The other reason I like Cecile ironically leads me to why I was disappointed in her for a long time. That reason is her mentality. Like Arlo, Cecile adheres and respects the hierarchy, but not totally. Cecile has been known to challenge authority even if she is outgunned. She did it with Remy, who beat her before. She did it with Arlo, who she knew was stronger than her definitely, and recently she did it with John. So burn that into your mind. Cecile is a person who has enough courage to defy the queen and kings of Wellston, and I adored that aspect of her character. Her pride superseded her belief in the hierarchy and sometimes her own health. Cecile's integrity as a journalist who strives to provide real news to the public gave her the balls to backdoor Arlo. Although Arlo had the power to force Cecile to comply with his demands, she always had that standoffish attitude. Cecile would stand up for what she believes in, and even in a loss, her character was not compromised. Season 2, however, has not been a good ride for big news Cecile. All of that gusto I got from Cecile previously evaporated into the air, forming a cloud that follows me like a shadow and rains on me anytime I think about the good old days of Cecile. So, what went wrong? Well, it's nothing. What I mean by this is how Cecile responding to her pride being tested time and time again. Since the time John went on his hierarchy destruction quest, Cecile regressed. On 2 to maybe 3 occasions, Cecile has suffered abuse at the hands of John and responded with nothing. Not a damn thing. The character I held in high regard partly because of her defiance was relegated to being a goddamn Pokemon TM for John to use whenever he wanted. No fight back, no plotting, nothing. And I had to repeat this for anyone who failed to listen the first time. I know Cecile eventually decided to quote betray unquote John. However, I think it took entirely too long for her to act. Here's why. This is not Cecile's first rodeo. She had her royal title Ajat taken by Serafina and given to Blake, who even now still is weaker than her. She was kicked out of the press entirely by Arlo and was replaced by Eisen, another person weaker than her. I don't see what Cecile was thinking in her attempt to kiss up to John. It was destined to fail. For starters, John proved himself to be violent and unstable. If Cecile's power was being taken away by people much more composed than John, why would her situation be any better? Second, Cecile already had bad blood with John, so the relationship was already a mess. Of course, Cecile would have no way of knowing this, but Serafina already warned John of her untrustworthy habits. What Cecile did know was that Arlo told John about the article she allowed to be leaked, detailing that Sarah was a cripple. Cecile already knew how much John valued Sarah, so at that point, she should have known that their relationship was unsalvageable. At that point, it's time to cut bait entirely. And in anticipation of what people would say to combat my thoughts, I already got something for y'all. But Satsuki, John is the king. Cecile has no choice but to listen to John. In the examples I already gave with Arlo's reign as king, Cecile has been shown to be rebellious towards his decisions, going as far as to attack him. And yes, while Cecile didn't defy Arlo immediately, I still do not think she should have put up with John for that long. Mind you, Arlo was simply not allowing some articles to be published. John, on the other hand, was forcing Cecile to publish propaganda, which is a whole new level of disgrace pertaining to the integrity of the press. But Satsuki, no, nigga, you don't understand. John, he's just too damn strong. There's nobody who would challenge him and risk being hospitalized. We have seen Arlo fight back, Remy fight back, Blight fight back, even fucking Eisen fought back, and he's a known coward. You are not going to sit here and convince me that Cecile was so petrified of John that she gave him her complete obedience when she's never gave that to any person breathing. Even when she did listen to Arlo, you get the feeling that it was leading to her eventual explosion. Why? Because her pride only allows so much, but that shit died along with John's hair gel and only came back due to a pep talk from Eisen. And it's not like I hate that moment, in fact I like it, but again, that moment came way too late. This is post Cecile getting her ass beat by John on 2 to 3 separate occasions. The old Cecile wouldn't have taken that much abuse. Plus, I honestly feel as if Cecile should have resolved the problem herself and not had that pep talk with Eisen. Putting that aside, I also believe that Cecile should have a bigger role in unOrdinary. With so many subplots to follow, like the low tier districts, Ember, the Royals rebranding, Spectre, Cecile for some reason is uninvolved in all of that. All she really has is her want to stay leader of the press, and that motivation is fine by itself if she didn't feel so pedestrian when her position was being toyed with. Considering Serafina warned John about how shady Cecile was, I was expecting conniving tricks from her at some point, and whether or not she felt like she couldn't do anything because John's guard was up, that doesn't change the fact that she barely did anything at all. Cecile was so passive, it makes me question Sarah's decision to dethrone her in the first place. We haven't really seen Cecile proactively carry out devious plans. Instead, she's constantly responding to her unfair displacement, which does little at selling her as some backstabbing snake, but does portray her as someone who is fed up. I think Zeke actually stole Cecile's agency in the story because he was doing what I thought she was meant to do. Zeke took over as John's personal Pokemon TM, was able to manipulate him with his lies, and ended up being the person to make him embrace his kingship. And keep in mind, Zeke did much worse to John than Cecile ever did, but was still able to get the job done. I'm sidetracking, but all of that is to say Cecile had potential to have a bigger impact than she did. Overall, man, I just wanted better for Cecile. Her recent actions make me believe Uru-chan is going in a positive direction with her character, but that doesn't mend what had already transpired before. And I don't think my expectations for Cecile are unreasonable either. Cecile is top 5 in strength among the students in Wellston, was the former queen, was the former Jack, and was/is head of the press. She's already a character that catches your eye quite easily, but there should be more building on to that. unOrdinary has expanded the scope of the story past school events, and in that evolution, Cecile can't be left behind. That's about it though. I'm Satsuki the Savage, people, and I am out.
Tasting your soul, you're not in control, just giving you goals. Scared of your past, the future is closed. The start is the end is a start. They both are the same, can't tell them apart. Nigga, that's cuz the intro is the outro.